I don't like meal prepping chicken and rice. It's just so boring. Why would I want to eat like a robot? Should you meal prep? Hello and welcome to another episode of Lucas's Talks. Is that the official name? No. Is it me talking? Yes. What are we talking about? Nutrition. Today's theme is on nutrition and more specifically meal prepping. This is going to cover a lot of the common questions that I would get as a coach in the industry or coach in the health space, and a lot of the questions I get from whether it's specific clients, it can also be friends and family, and those drunk conversations you just have at the club as soon as someone's like, "Oh, you're into gym? Like should I be doing keto right now?" So we'll be covering a lot is where I'm getting at. So to starting off with, should you meal prep? Short answer, yes. Long answer, maybe. Reason being, it comes down to who you are, what your life actually looks like, your day-to-day, how much time you can give to it, and then you can make a decision of, all right, well, should you be meal prepping? But in most cases, it is a yes. There are some specific cases where somebody maybe has very little time, more so because the cost outweighs the benefits, and they can either pay someone to meal prep for them, or B, there's someone that does have a pretty good understanding of food, the macronutrients, the micronutrients, what they're eating throughout the day as a whole or even throughout the week. And then whenever they go to like a cafe or restaurant, they're normally eating or ordering their foods with that prior knowledge to make better decisions and better equipped decisions. But in most cases, if you are somebody that is, maybe they do have the capital just to buy it all the time, but is constantly emotionally eating, where it comes down to you're getting so hungry throughout the day, and you're like, oh crap, what am I going to do here? What do I want to eat? And you just turn to those options that you already would know are probably the bad or unhealthy options for you, then meal prep is going to be great for you, right? Maybe your situation is you get throughout the day and you have all the time to cook, right? But then you get to that point and you're already hungry. You're like, oh, well, what do I want to cook? And then you've got hunger as well as all of these hunger cues and emotions coming up. And you're like, oh, let's just have a bag of Sour Patch Kids and let's have some cake.
Oh man, I love the cake!
It's like in that decision, emotions are running rampant. You're hungry, you need energy. And of course, your body and you are going to turn to the most palatable options, which is usually sugar.
Diabetes.
So in that case, you're either prepared or you're prepared to fail in that situation. If you can pre-prepare your food in some manner or have a plan going forward, it's going to take the guesswork and the emotional eating out, and where you're like, all right, well, I have this food now, it's pre-prepared. All I have to do is stick it in a microwave, heat it up, and then eat it. The most ideal reason to do it is it gives you time back, and it takes away a lot of the decision making you have to make throughout the day when it comes to choosing your foods. So, should you meal prep? What's your situation? But majority of the time, it's probably going to be yes. You should be meal prepping. Prepare your food, make good choices, and then that way you don't have to think about it throughout the day, and you can put that brain power of decision making towards something else. So that's why you should be meal prepping. Things that people bring up as to why they shouldn't be meal prepping or why meal prepping is hard. One of them is, I don't like meal prepping chicken and rice. It's just so boring. Why would I want to eat like a robot? I don't want to do that. Why would I make eating food such a chore? I actually personally agree with that. Like to eat like a robot all the time, only eat chicken and rices, it can be quite daunting to think that your next step towards health has to be something so boring and uncreative when it comes to food. Right? It doesn't need to be that. There is so many different options and different recipes that you can find in bulk to make your meal prep so damn creative. And if you have access to social media right now, it is blowing up. There are so many videos you can draw inspiration from. I saw healthy KFC burgers, healthy McDonald's burgers, where they accompany all of those flavors into something that's just less processed and you can prepare and know where all of that food is coming from. Make the selection of ingredients from whole foods. There is so many good ways and creative ways that you can come up with your weekly menu throughout that period to eat. So when it comes to that specific decision, a lot of the time you're just creating a story for yourself.
Oh, no, he didn't.
You literally just need to be prepared and maybe find a few options throughout the week that you want to cook the following week. And if it's something like, all right, well, I don't like eating the same thing every day, then okay, you can prepare 2 to 3 meals or 2 to 3 of that same recipe. Maybe it's just 2 of that recipe and you can have another one prepared. There's many different strategies you can come up with to somewhat combat that. But again, it just takes a little bit of research or a little bit of digging. Another thing I hear quite frequently is I don't have time to meal prep, and every time I go to meal prep, it becomes so complicated with all the ingredients that I want to put in there. Like, bro, what am I going to do when I want my broccoli sprouts or my berries to sit in the sun at 12 o'clock every day for 2 hours to make sure that it's absorbing enough vitamin D so when I eat it, it has the most micro and macronutrients available for me to absorb and become the best version of myself? Yeah, if you're going to think like that, it's going to make it very complicated. It's going to make it very undesirable for you to go and continue that process, right, week in and week out for years and years, maybe the rest of your life, right? If that's the way you're thinking about it, then 100% it's going to get tough. Now, I said before that you don't need to be so boring and bland as to cook a broccoli, chicken, and rice. But at the same time, your meal preps can literally be a chicken, broccoli, and rice. There's a reason that people eat it, right? Number one, because the food choices are very easy to see, and you can see where it came from prior to it making its way to your kitchen, so it's less processed. So when you're eating those forms of food and those choices of food, it makes it really easy because you know your digestion is going to be amazing. You know that the macros are going to be fantastic and you're eating enough to support your daily needs. And again, convenience. Personally, I don't want to spend 2.5 hours meal prepping. Agreed. Like, what's probably the last thing you want to be doing on a Sunday on one of your days off before you then head into the next week? It's nice to be prepared, but do you want to spend 2 to 3 hours on it, grocery shopping, and then pre-preparing everything, then cooking it all, distributing into containers, and finally you complete it and you're like, oh my God, I just done a whole 3 hours of focused work and now I just want to sit down and watch TV for the rest of the day. Day's gone. I understand that. So, if you can work on the skill, now I say skill because it's a skill. If you can work on the skill of eating a chicken, broccoli, and rice, right, or keeping it as basic as possible in where you're getting the right amounts of food, whether it's a lean cut of
Today, Junior?
protein or some form of protein, some main source of carbohydrates, right, some good sources of fat, and some vegetables in there for both fiber and the micronutrients, and you can do it in the most time-effective way possible, then you could literally walk in and out of a meal prep situation within 20 minutes. So in that setting, don't overcomplicate it. You can be as complicated as you want to be and creative as you want to be. But if you're strapped for time, don't miss the habit because you're not going to allow yourself to be so simple and you're not going to allow yourself to eat something so bland as chicken, broccoli, and rice. Again, it can be as complicated as you want or it can be as simple as you want. So if you can work on the skill on eating bland foods and just, well, not caring, saves you time.
Do it!
It kind of like goes into that same point of the Sunday. Like you don't want to spend 3 hours cooking and then suddenly your Sunday's gone. A lot of people's Sundays usually go for longer than that. 3 hours, I know. But it's still something that comes up because you end up having to go to the shops, and in that frantic scenario, sometimes you're hungover too, so you've woken up late and you then go grocery shopping, you then get home, you distribute the containers, and it's just time. The tip I usually give away here is break it up. So if you can somehow make it grocery shopping on, say, 2 days prior to when you plan on cooking or the night before, and do your meal prepping when not many people are probably at the shop, then you can streamline it, have all of your ingredients ready. And as you're even putting your groceries away, you can actually like pre-prepare a few things. So then that next day, next morning, before you even start the day, you can quickly zoom through all of your meal prep and then just move on to whatever the next task is. Then that way you're not spending so much time on the meal prep itself, but you've actually just distributed or split up the days that you are cooking. For some people, that might be cooking a bigger portion of dinner and then just having the leftovers the next day. For some people, it's pre-preparing 3 meals to 4 meals at a time and then having another meal prep section later in the week. So 2 meal prep days, basically. But personally, I just like meal prepping everything on a Sunday. It is a lot more convenient for me and my lifestyle. And that brings us to our final point. Why you? You.
Why, no, I haven't.
Hey, he was talking to me. No, he was talking to me. Why you?
Should be meal prepping. The fact that you clicked into this video, whether it was the title, whether you know me, and you're like, oh, this would be interesting to listen to, you're like, oh, meal prepping. There's probably a reason that you're thinking about it in the first place, right? Whether it is a performance goal and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I would really like to get the most out of my training. I'm feeling a little bit flat. I'm not able to lift the weights that I want. This will be good. Maybe it's around fat loss. Maybe you're somebody that is trying to stay away from a lot of those foods you're eating throughout the day that is putting you into that calorie surplus, right? Maybe it's you just want to pack on some more muscle so you're not eating enough food or the right portion throughout the day and you want to pre-prepare it to best set yourself up for success. There's many different reasons, but for the most part, I think that you know. So for that same reason is why you should be meal prepping. Now, another reason is a lot of your decision making is made subconsciously, or it's habit-based. There's been many situations I bet you can account on where you say to yourself in the morning or the night before, I am going to do this habit. I am going to do this action. I am not going to eat McDonald's for lunch today. Nah-uh. So what ends up happening is you go through your workday, you're stressed about work or whatever task that you are working on. Maybe it's the kids are just screaming and you're thinking about that, like, oh my God, life is so stressful. This task, biomechanics, physics. And then suddenly you come to and you realize, oh my God, that's a Big Mac meal. That's a large Coke. That's a large fries. I mean, I've already ordered it. I might as well eat it. Right? You didn't even know how that happened. Sometimes that's just in the car and you are not even thinking about where you're going and you literally just go, drive in and now I'm at home. Your body and your mind is really good at basically automating tasks on the daily. So if that's an ingrained habit in where you would get certain cues and you're like, all right, well, food, and you go for the most palatable foods possible, right? Which is usually those fast foods. They go out of their way to make sure that their food is the most tasty, the most put together chemically based foods in that it just wires your brain to go, I need more. You can eat so much of that stuff. And there's a reason for it. They want you to continue coming back as customers. They do really well to make sure that you come back because of the tastes and all of the things that you want out of your food. So a lot of that decision making around your food is going to be unconscious or from your subconscious and very habit based. So instead of having to make that tough decision of, I'm really hungry right now and I just want that salty fry from the McDonald's and that Big Mac sauce would be delish. No, I gotta eat this mincemeat and rice. Instead of going through that hard decision that you're just wrestling with yourself for, have it pre-prepared. Take the decision making out. then that way you can have those tough decisions throughout the day, but put towards better and more productive things, right? There is a such thing as decision fatigue, in where that you're making such tough decisions all the time. By the end of it, you're just like, just let life take me, right? So if you can be prepared for that, you allow yourself the decision to be put towards more productive things. That is why I personally feel you should meal prep. But again, I think that you already know that, considering you managed to listen to possibly 19 minutes of me talking. So thank you for that. And that does bring our chat to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank you if you did make it this far. And please, like, subscribe, even just chuck some comments down below, maybe some of the things that you would want me to clarify on, if you have any questions, or even some direction, some things you'd like me to answer. That'd be fantastic. So again, guys, thank you very much. Take care. Garnier, I'm out. Peace.